Hey there, fans of brotherly love wrestling. It is I, Vic Delicious.
Philly's own, the Mecca here.
It is the real McCoy, J.D.X. Justin D. Xavier. And
it's your man, CD, the fallen angel, Christopher Daniels.
Hello, boys and girls. This is your old friend RJ City.
Hey there, brotherly love wrestling. Bill Carr here.
Hey everyone, this is two-time guest Wheeler Yuta.
Two bozos from Philadelphia flapping their gums about pro wrestling this, pro wrestling that.
Which is not that unique in the grand scheme of things yet.
You are in for a treat because you're tuned in to Brotherly Love Wrestling.
Philadelphia, are you ready?
No! They said, are you ready?
This is Brotherly Love Wrestling Podcast, your first stop for everything professional wrestling. So sit back and enjoy wrestling talk at its finest with your hosts, Larry Hall and Joe Corrado.
Welcome, everybody, to Brotherly Love Wrestling. Today on our show, we are...
We're in the COVID era again.
Yes. Yeah, quite literally at this point. Yeah. So...
That's the second time we've been in that era in 3 weeks.
Yes. Yeah. First time it was you. Now it's me. So...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh? It's real. It's real.
So today, we're going to revisit a topic I think we did on our second or third ever show.
Okay, so there's a good chance that the majority of the people haven't listened to that because
and I implore you, do not go back and listen to that.
Yeah. Oh, no. I didn't say that invitingly. Like, what, you missed something spectacular? No, it was god awful.
Mm-hmm.
It was terrible. There's no redeeming qualities of those first shows.
See, when you do that, that makes people go, "Huh, I want to hear it now."
Yeah, like it couldn't have been that. No, it's that bad.
It's that bad. It is that bad.
It's that bad.
It is. Yeah.
But yeah, and we've done it, but I think we've done it even more recent than that. And I know everybody has done it. Like everyone's done the topic. This is a very common topic, but a different spin on it.
Yes.
For us, at least.
Yeah.
So
Joe,
go ahead.
You came up with the spin on it. So
okay. So basically what we're going to be doing today is it's going to be our combined WWE, probably from the Attitude Era. It's very specific as I go into it. Attitude Era to current Mount Rushmore. Meaning I'm going to eliminate a couple for you right now. Like, I'm not looking for the Flairs. I'm not looking for the Dusties. I'm not even looking for the Hogan or Savage. Looking for just WWF, and basically that's why they're famous. Either they've been there their whole career, or they were the biggest while there.
Okay.
Significance.
Okay.
I mean, I think a couple of them are pretty easy, but besides doing that, I want to do kind of it'll be like we're Thanos. We snap our finger and one disappears, and then we have to see just how substantial they were to see how many other wrestlers it may have affected, or what will be missing from history. So I think that's the more in-depth part of this whole show.
This show might end up going to two parts.
It might,
because our last I think our last handful of shows went either an hour or over an hour. So just to help people out, I think most likely we're going to be cutting this up a little bit, but yeah. So
you just put a high standard on our content right now. We're gonna have good, and now first we have to have good, and now you're promising them something long. We could have a possible two-parter. There's a lot of pressure going into this fucking episode, Larry.
Look, you're taking four guys and you're taking them away, and we're going to talk about each one getting taken away and the ramifications of that.
Yes,
that's going to be a lot to talk about. So.
And there's probably going to be intertwined stories within.
That's what I'm saying. This could take a little bit, so I think this easy could be a two-parter.
Oh, okay.
So let's start it off. How do you want to do it?
So, all right. How many are you thinking of right now?
I have three that I'm thinking of.
Okay, so I also have 3 with a very strong 4th. So I think we're gonna knock out 1 and 2 right now. Taker,
Yes.
Austin.
Yes.
Okay. This is where I mean now I feel like we're playing the other game that we
The draft game.
So this is where I could say one, you couldn't have it, and you could say one that I don't have, and we could come up with our 4 real quick.
Yeah.
So who do you got for your third?
My third would be The Rock.
Okay. So my 4th is Cena.
Okay. That would have been my 4th as well.
So The
Rock we're on the
was my
same
4th.
page.
So it went Austin, Taker, vice versa. Cena, Rock.
I agree.
So all right. So wow, that was fucking easy. And you know what? I'm not even going to talk about anybody else because I think that's a solid 4.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be much better than that, to be honest. I'll say 1.
Okay.
I was thinking Triple H in there.
Me too.
So
until you said Attitude Era to now, that's when I was thinking Triple H before that. And then when you said now, I was like, okay, well then Cena goes in. Instead of Triple H. He edges Triple H.
All right, so I'll do this. I'll just keep it the Attitude Era. We'll knock Cena out and we'll put Triple H in.
Okay. All right, I'm down for that.
You good with that?
Yeah. Yeah, that won't affect me much because, like I said, I was going to do Triple H if we were just doing Attitude Era anyway.
All right, so
and WWF. Yeah, I mean,
if you're thinking of like pillars of WWE, WWF.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Cena carried them when there was nothing.
Yeah,
Cena carried that when it was like a lot of garbage. So I mean, what would honestly, a lot of Cena's would be title based.
Yeah.
All right, I like what we got. So we got Austin, Taker, Rock, Triple H. All right. Hold on. I want to get the theatrics. And I'll take one away.
All right, I'm going to start with out of those 4, I'm going to start with the easiest one, and it's going to be Triple H.
Oh, okay. I thought we were going to start from the top.
No. Well, I mean, Mount Rushmore, there's really no order. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I feel when we get further into this, we're going to feel the more substantialness of certain people over others.
I have a disclaimer on Triple H, by the way. A part of me feels like if we're just doing Attitude Era, that Shawn Michaels would be lifted over Triple H. And I think maybe a lot of people would agree with that.
Yeah, but
now, I'm cool with keeping Triple H. I'm just saying, going on record, like if we're talking that, I feel
we're also eliminating a lot of time from Michaels too, though, where he wasn't doing anything.
Yeah,
and Triple H was carrying.
Okay, you're right. All right, yeah, that makes sense.
Let's start right there while we're there.
Okay.
If there is no Triple H, I don't believe that there's a DX. I really don't. I don't feel like
if there's no Triple H, there's no one with Michaels to bring the buddy, them having fun backstage and bring it out in front of the camera. So yeah, I agree. Shawn Michaels.
If there's no Triple H, I don't know if Michaels I don't know. I think he gets to a point that's even worse. And
or jump ship and goes to WCW.
Yeah.
Because he don't have a buddy to be in the trenches.
So the ramifications of that could be, honestly, I don't know if they win the war, but because I think
they don't.
I think the egos are still too great to have not. Because Michaels at that point, I don't know if he ever gets the help that he needs.
Well, and let's be honest, Michaels had no part in the Monday Night War win. All right, take that back. he had the beginning parts of them keeping up with the whole Austin and Tyson in that feud. But after that, when it really ramped up, there was no Michaels. So him helping them win the war, he wouldn't, I don't think he would affect WCW that much. Now, it might have gone on longer because of Michaels, but I do not think he helps WCW win the war.
I think here, we'll go off that. There's no Triple H and there's no DX. There's no one to combat the NWO. So
that we can think of, yes, I agree.
No, I don't think, like, Vince isn't pushing the Nation.
No.
Oh, who else? You got the Oddities. You got freaking the Job Squad.
No, see, it would have to be more singles driven in that case. You don't have anyone invading the scope down in Norfolk. You don't have them.
You have a time where, let's face it, I mean, WCW might have lasted a lot longer than 83 weeks on top.
And you don't have the McMahon-Helmsley era, which, say what you will about them, that storyline was huge with those two. With the wedding and them taking over and them running the show, like, that whole story was big for WWE during that time. So I think a lot of that, and I think this is going to be the narrative because we are doing 4 Attitude Era guys, is the Monday Night Wars look a lot different without these 4 guys each way. Differently in their own aspect, but each way, a couple of, actually, the other 3, WCW probably wins, but Triple H to a lesser effect. There's a lot of storyline and a lot that Triple H really contributes to. Look, don't forget, that's also when Austin's hurt.
Look, if there's no Triple H, there's no Evolution, because he's the one that wanted Flair to have something to do and then took Batista and Orton under his wing. There's another
even further past the Attitude Era itself.
There's a lot that Triple H played into. I mean, he was one of the lifers. He was one of the. There's him and there's one other person who's actually also, well, actually 3 out of the 4 are kind of lifers, aren't they?
Yeah.
For what company they work for. Some just exited a lot quicker.
Yeah, Hunter as well with Hunter, you said Evolution. Batista doesn't become the star without Triple H picking him from OVW and putting him in there. Like,
I don't think Orton gets to that magnitude either. There's a lot of a learning tree. Triple H is a learning tree. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of the future, as we know, that is affected without Triple H ever being a part of the business.
And Mick Foley definitely doesn't get as big without that feud with Triple H.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that I feel like out of all of the people, I feel like Triple H, he might have carried the most feuds or like been a big contributor in the most like storylines and feuds. Like, you lose a lot of like good stories with Triple H, and that goes from the Attitude Era to now. You lose a hell of a lot. Like, that's the thing. I don't know, with Triple H, you got a lot of talent that doesn't get their due. You get a lot of these people that aren't, and the business kind of stays, the mainstream business kind of stays the former athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if Vince ever conforms that much to whereas he's going to bring in these indie darlings.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if he ever gets to that point. I don't know. Like, Triple H's effect on just wrestling as a whole.
Yeah, there's no NXT.
No, there's no NXT, which would suck. With no NXT and the indie darlings, here, let's put another spin on this. Let's go a completely different route. Does AEW have a much, much better product to go against the basically, I would call this like the 80s wrestling except downgraded substantially. Like, I think without people wanting to work for Triple H, I mean, does AEW just get so, maybe AEW gets so big because so many people want to leave that they implode?
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at when NXT not being there, them signing people.
I
It's
thought way more in depth than I thought I was going to think. I mean,
with
but
Triple H.
I knew Triple H. I mean, just being, if we're just taking the attitude, but I kind of with Triple H, as well as I'll probably do the same thing with Taker. I mean, the stretch and the longevity of that career and how, and they're, when Triple H is still somewhat in front of a camera, he's still very relevant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's trending pretty much weekly.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty fucking relevant. I mean, it's, I mean, just, he's there so much longer than just the Attitude Era.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and like we said, look, we picked 4 Attitude Era guys, but the stretch of their entire career of taking them away is what we're looking at.
And I think that's why I would, because I mean, Cena's longevity was great as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Triple H, I mean, had the better career.
The impact on the wrestling business alone.
A couple off of his title wins.
Yeah.
Cena has 16. Triple H he's 14-time champion.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know. But the impact.
Is he 15-time champion? Is Orton 14-time?
Orton is, I want to say Orton's 15, actually.
I don't know. I think Orton is still behind Triple H. While you check for these stats.
Yeah.
You lose.
No, you know what? It says Orton has 10. I thought it was more than 10.
Orton has more than 10.
That doesn't
what
sound
is this
right
list
to me.
from like 2014?
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, Triple H is one of those, like, you don't just lose the Attitude Era, you lose a big player in the Ruthless Aggression Era.
Orton has 14.
So I think Triple H has 15.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right.
Without Triple H, Daniel Bryan doesn't become Daniel Bryan.
No.
You don't get the yes.
Would he even be there? There's no there's no NXT. There's no.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll be there. I don't think the developmental in the WWE and OVW and all them and like FCW and stuff like that down Florida. I don't think it works.
You know what? You know what constant I think it would be that would still probably. I think Punk would still leave even if Triple H wasn't there. I think he would have found someone else to be pissed at.
At this point, with his track record, I think we can agree on that. Yeah.
He's the only constant in all this.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you don't get a lot of people. The product isn't good.
No. Yeah, that's Triple H is a good one, man. Who knew that? I mean, obviously know how long and how great he is, but yeah, that he affects a whole lot and a lot more than I thought he was going to affect.
You know what's funny is this could have some sort of weird ripple down effect to where, I mean, we could, if Michaels never comes back to WWE, because Triple H pretty much was one of the big reasons he came back.
Yeah.
So he doesn't get the help in the right amount of time, and he just doesn't come back to wrestling. It's just not for him. He just does like special appearances, like the NWO.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get that comeback. You don't get Taker at Mania twice. You don't get 4 years of, and I'm saying probably, you at least don't get 2 years of great WrestleMania matches.
No, I think you're right. I think, like I said, I think he jumps to WCW. I don't think it happens. If that happens, there's no Triple H. You're looking at how the timeline keeps going without Triple H. Razor Hall and Nash go regardless. They want more money anyway, so they go regardless. Triple H had nothing to do with that. So Michaels is there when they leave. They do that curtain call thing, which is the three of them. Michaels is still there when they leave. He's the champ. They are grooming to get to Austin anyway. But he's in bad shape. So
yeah, Michaels is still all jacked up.
they leave. He has no other running mate because X-Pac's gone too. They leave and he has no other running mate. We might not see the Brett Michaels feud go further. He might say, "Yeah, I want out. I have to be here with Brett."
We don't get the screw job.
We might not get the screw job because you don't have him with Triple H doing all that. Like you said, no DX. So Michaels might be like, you know what, this isn't fun anymore. I'm going to go with them. And Michaels jumps. And then his problems are eventually what Scott Hall problems were. His problems only get magnified because with a wellness policy, at least in WWE, granted, they were doing pills and shit in WWE already. Imagine what he's going to do with Scott Hall, taking it to that limit. He's going to be right with Scott Hall doing that as well. Now, Kevin Nash has to clean up after two of them instead of just Scott Hall. So, I think we might not see a Michaels. Michaels might not make it to the age that he made it now without staying in WWE with Hunter. That's the sad part that could have happened.
I mean, he still could have found God. There still could have been there still could have been a point of where he finds God and he turns it around. But I don't know if he turns it around and he's still welcomed back with the same open arms because he left for the other company. So I don't think he gets those big pushes. He might come back and job out. Who knows? But I think it's pretty safe to say that we justify Triple H on the list.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Who's going?
Let's go with Rock.
All right. So we're going with the most electrifying man to ever grace our screens. So Triple H is back in the fold. We put him back in, and now Rock disappeared. I mean,
right off the bat, the first thing, as soon as we did that, you don't have a young Triple H. You don't have the competitor making him better coming up because they were parallel and they were fighting for that IC title, that they were going up and coming together. You don't have a crazy skipping ahead in the timeline. You don't have Rock and Sock Connection.
No.
Which was fucking amazing, and another contributor to the Monday Night Wars that was amazing. You don't get the big of a pop for Jericho. No. Yeah, who does Jericho debut against that makes that kind of impact? Yeah, that he can, because I mean he was it. I think people, I don't know if they realize as much or if it's shadowed by Austin, but Rock was on top for a while. Mm-hmm. He took the ball when Austin was hurt. Again, like I said, Austin with that when he went down with that neck injury, Rock started to elevate. You know what I mean? When he took his ball and went home, Rock elevated. Like there were several times where the Rock held a lot for the WWE. And you done again to that point, you don't get Rock Austin. You don't get one of the greatest rivalries in the history of wrestling. You sometimes it's the perfect storm where two people were meant to battle it out. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if any in the history of wrestling, and I'm not as old as some fans, and they'll probably try and correct me on this in some fashion, but I don't know if there's any feud that's ever been as good and as meaningful as Rock Austin. I don't know if we get the level of Austin. I mean, he had help from McMahon. Yeah, but of course. How long was that going to actually? I mean, they kept intertwining it, Austin and McMahon. Yeah, because with the Austin and McMahon, you had because McMahon couldn't wrestle. You had the Dude Love. You had you had when Helmsley aligned with him. You had a bunch of people that you would have step up when Paul White came in, Big Show. You know what I mean? He kept feeding people in, and to a way, way lower extent, Patterson and Briscoe. Like, there were things, and the corporation, Shamrock, Boss Man, all these people were fed to Austin.
Yeah, but who was the leader of the corporation?
Vince.
Yeah, but who was the lead wrestler in the corporation?
Oh, The Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So,
and that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the biggest thing is that with that, you know, I mean, even though McMahon Austin, yes, probably McMahon Austin might edge as far as storyline goes and as a feud.
And for longevity of feud and just how it basically made Austin.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about two of the biggest stars ever,
yeah,
I don't think you get the same Austin without Rock. Like, I don't feel like it reaches. I don't think it reaches that big of a peak with someone like Triple H. I don't think it does. I mean, The Rock was larger than life. The Rock was huge. When you think Austin, you think Rock. When you think Rock, you think Austin. You think WrestleMania is what, 17? That's what you think.
15, 17, 19.
I mean, 17 was one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, if not the greatest WrestleMania match of all time.
That's debatable, but yeah. Yeah,
I know. Believe me, it's debatable because we've had the debate several times.
Yeah, 17. Yeah, I agree, but I
here's
feel
the
like
thing: when you look at it as a sense of the two biggest stars in a match at WrestleMania, it's when you think of that, just popularity alone, it's bigger than Taker and Michaels.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I agree with that.
I'm thinking of drawing power. That drawing power is a lot greater.
Like a big fight feel. It's definitely
big money. That's big money.
I got you. Yeah.
Taker Michaels was just great match.
Yes.
Damn near perfect. But still, box office speaks.
Yes.
That's a box office blockbuster.
So I think Rock would have a giant impact taking Rock away. But like you said, with two of them, the longevity thing kind of fizzles The Rock out a little bit because, yeah, you have that, and then he goes off to Hollywood, and we don't have him anyway. You know what I mean? Granted, he comes back. You have the best feud after his comeback, obviously, is John Cena, and elevates Cena to that next level. And that in itself is a great feud, and probably Cena's
that was great because of the popularity that The Rock had gotten after he left too. Without that exposure from WWE, The Rock isn't as big as he doesn't get that exposure. But that's taking him completely. We take The Rock out of the WWE, and he's never in the WWE. We don't get any of The Rock in Hollywood either. We probably get garbage. I mean, some people don't like him as an actor anyway, but I mean, but you don't know who he is. He's just a big guy.
Or I mean, without that WWE platform, he's not an actor.
Yeah,
you see him in the NFL. You know what I mean? He's playing football, and he's just another big guy playing in the NFL. He's another you know what I mean, linebacker or D end in the NFL, and he's just this guy, Dwayne Johnson, who plays in the NFL for however long. Like, it's a big difference.
So this is what I want to say about The Rock, and we talk about it being in the Attitude Era, and how there was the Monday Night Wars was one of the biggest things in wrestling history. I think The Rock is someone that if you take The Rock out, I think the WCW has an even longer run. Like, I feel like the run gets longer. Like, Triple H isn't there. I feel like the run's still longer, but it still fizzles out just because of ego. I mean, I think without the absolute draw that The Rock was, and he was one of the ones that you wanted to see every single week. Just for, you don't get, I mean, the promos. You don't get any of the promos. My God, those were the best promos. There's no one else cutting them. There's nobody else that is cutting that promo like The Rock. There was no one else on the mic. Like, you don't have anyone on the mic that is as good as him in that era.
Yeah, agreed.
You don't get any of that. And therefore, promos go way down.
Yeah.
Because it's just that generic. He was anything but generic.
Yeah, of course.
Everything else was that generic cookie cutter. Oh, I'm going to beat you. He had the right, we'll call the word pizzazz.
Okay.
Like, he had it all.
He invented words. They're not invented words. I mean, he made words famous and got put in the Webster's dictionary. Just like, I mean, and household words.
SmackDown.
Yeah, look, yeah. Well, obviously, SmackDown being probably the biggest one.
Here's
Next
the
to
thing.
jabroni. Like, jabroni became one of the biggest insults from wrestling fans to other people immediately.
I still use it.
I know.
It's my handle for TikTok
I know.
and Snapchat.
Yeah.
Jabroni is one of the best words ever.
Yes.
And I still call people that on the road when Quinn's in the car because I can't curse.
Although that
call
was
people-
kind of patented by the Iron Sheik, but
Yeah,
Rock took it to a whole new level.
Yeah, Rock took a lot of things to a whole new level. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, without The Rock, you lose. I feel like you almost lose the Attitude Era without The Rock. Like, that's huge.
I think the rest of this Mount Rushmore's, it can be the same thing said about.
Yeah. Well, there's one very much in particular that I think if you lose him, I don't think there's a war.
I agree.
And
So let's move on to that person then.
all right,
So what?
Austin.
Yes, I agree.
Austin. I think if there's no Austin 316. There's none of that.
Let's whoa, wait. Let's take that back. Now, I know we were saying that what they did in WWE make them stars and all, but I want to go a little bit even further. You don't get the Dangerous Alliance nearly as good. You don't get the Hollywood Blondes. You don't get the amazing promo work in ECW and him being fired from WCW and some of the, if not one of the best promos I've ever seen come out of it. ECW.
No, that's not true because we're just talking about WWF.
I know. That's why I said before. I know we're only doing WWF and what made them big. I get
if we're
that.
wiping them out of the business, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We wiped The Rock out of the business, so that's what I'm saying. Like, look at that because we talk about Taker's longevity. Look at some of that. Even though that, yes, didn't make them big or anything like that, but there's still the footprint of Stone Cold on the business itself. Look, Dangerous Alliance is in one of your favorite War Games matches of all time.
But I think there's still. I think the Dangerous Alliance still, because Rude was the leader of that.
Well, yes, yeah.
I think there's still. I think they find someone else to insert into the Dangerous Alliance if Austin isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
They might even try it and pull something where they try and convert Dustin over to the Dangerous Alliance or something, which would have been a crazy turn too.
Yeah,
but or Barry Windham. But I'm thinking Austin. If there is no Austin, because he was it,
mm-hmm.
He's still it.
From that King of the Ring promo on,
he was it, and he continues to still be like. I think he's surpassed everybody, and he's crossed over to everything. Like I know The Rock has crossed over to literally everything. The Rock has literally crossed over to everything,
mm-hmm.
but I think Austin is the most known wrestler of all time because of. I know arguments can be made for Hogan. But I think Hogan fizzles out because of the newer generation. I think they still know him, but I think the newer generation, our generation and onward, is Austin. I think it might outnumber the Hogans at this point.
And not only that, with that, like again,
although I think Cena will also
out.
be in that. He'll also be in that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, if not already, I think honestly, I think already, but because Austin, you're right, probably most well known, but I think internationally, I think Cena edges Austin on that.
Okay, so I'm gonna double back before we get too far into the Cena Austin, and just say that if we eliminate Austin from the history of WWF, you got nobody playing the card versus Vince as good as him.
No, yeah, I fully agree.
I think that's a one, might be like good for a few weeks, but there's no way they carry that.
Look, they did it with Taker. Taker had his mini feud with Vince, even though there was never anything in the ring. It was more the corporation, ministry, all that bullshit.
Yeah, I feel like everybody's had their run-in with Vince if you've been around long enough, but nobody played it like Austin. Yeah. And if you get rid of that, one, you have no glass shattering. You've got what? You got no Austin.
What you just said. No what?
You get no what? You get you really get the personality. I mean, Rock's got to carry it, but if he's still out, it doesn't.
You have DX. We have DX still. You have The Rock. You have Taker. You have Mankind. You still have a lot. But I agree. I do not think WWE wins the war. I don't. No. I think WCW wins the war because, and like I said, I had a lot of time on my hands today. So I was watching a lot of, actually around that era wrestling, and I watched WWE's series Rivalries. And I watched both parts 1 and 2 of McMahon, Austin, and watching it again. And the pops, and because of course they talked about him taking his ball and going home, and then him coming back. I think it was at No Mercy when he came back that night. It's just earth-shattering pops. Like the difference that guy makes entering an arena.
Still getting them today.
Still, WrestleMania last year, the pop he gets, even though you know he's coming out. Like when you don't know he's coming out, you
could forget about it.
It's Richter scale level noise. But even when they know, even a scheduled match, it doesn't matter. That glass shattering has the biggest reaction I've ever heard in my life. It's always.
It makes people lose their fucking mind. And there's nobody else that's going to get that reaction. There's nobody. There's nobody else that they had that was going to get that reaction. He was the most must-see person. And when you get no Zamboni, you get no beer truck, you get no four-wheelers, you get no fucking
monster truck
running over Vince's limousine. It's that whole fucking the perfect anti-hero, but the perfect person against authority that just doesn't give a fuck. The blue collar. I mean, you have nobody that can relate to as large of a fan base if you don't have Austin. Like that fan base deteriorates drastically.
Let me ask you this, just because we can stay on Austin, so I know we can bounce around to different things and aspects. Going back to the pop, I have one in my head, the biggest pop I think Austin's ever got. What is your opinion of like the biggest moment where he's come out you think is the biggest pop?
The one you said.
And I'm talking about pound for pound. Like because like stadiums and all, of course you're going to get more people, blah, blah. I'm like, moment where you think can stack up to anything. Because I have a different one than what I said.
What's the one that's different?
The one that's different is when Mankind wins the title that night on Raw.
Oh, when Austin comes out and
That is, I think, the craziest, loudest pop I've seen for Austin, period. And the only thing that might rival that is WrestleMania when he comes out with Michaels and Foley to go after the League of Nations. No,
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
no. Is it League of Nations? Like that sounds wrong. That sounds like the actual thing for our government. That's not League of Nations is what it was called, right?
Maybe.
I'm almost positive it was. It just sounds right. Let's just go with my first instinct and not question it. But yeah, when that came out, because no one knew he was going to be there, that was another one. Like those surprise coming outs are what really get you. But I think when Mankind beats Rock for that title on Raw with DX down there and Vince down there and them trying to screw him, like that, I think it was next level. Next level for sure.
There's been so many too. There's
Yeah.
just been so many where he's like, as soon as you hear it, and I don't think that anybody gets to that magnitude. Like
Rock is the closest.
Rock is the closest, yeah, but he's still leaving. He's not sticking around. He's still leaving. So he's still tainted.
And then the feuds the matches, the WrestleMania matches that come with him leaving. I mean, like we said before, you don't get one of the greatest WrestleMania matches ever, and that's him and Brett at 13. Obviously, you don't get a moment, obviously his belt winning moment against Michaels in 14. Rock Austin all three times, 15, 17, 19.
You don't get Brett Austin.
Did you say that?
No, did you?
13.
Oh, never mind. I wasn't paying
attention. It was that good. You guys had to say it a second time.
I had to make sure we had to get it in there. I'll probably say it again later.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it goes without saying that Steve Austin is.
He became the person. Well, he was the biggest main eventer. If you were on the card with Austin, it was going to be the biggest match of the night, no matter what.
Money draw as well.
Yeah.
Hence why he took his ball and went home with that whole booking him versus Brock Lesnar on a Monday night and no advertisement first round of the King of the Ring tournament. Like, you don't do that with a Stone Cold. This isn't WCW and Goldberg where you're giving this shit away for free and not doing anything. Like, this is Stone Cold. It doesn't make sense to do a big match like that you know is going to be a big match. You're calling the guy he's facing the next big thing. Austin is the thing right now. And you're just going to, we'll put a first round matchup on Raw. No advance or nothing. Like, it makes no sense. It's bad business to do that.
Yeah. I
mean, the way he did it was probably wrong, but I think he was completely right in walking out.
Well, so you don't have that moment. So yeah, I guess that maybe there is a couple. I mean, here's the thing. It's just the most you don't have. Who is the most popular then? I mean, is it Rock? Is it Michaels?
No. Rock. I mean, look, as big as a Michaels mark I am, Rock, there was no comparison between Rock and Michaels, but they were two completely different superstars.
Yeah.
But I mean, Rock is definitely the most popular of Austin's out there. Taker being two.
So we're absolutely 100% sure that that they lose the war without Austin.
I mean, yeah, as close as we can be to something that didn't happen. Yeah, I think it's. I don't think it's a question, honestly. I really don't.
So if they win the war, then we don't even have to talk about WWE because then they vanish too if they lose the war.
But what does losing the war look like with WWE losing? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't know if they get bought out because I just don't think that they get bought out. I don't think that they go away. I think they withstand it somehow. Somehow they withstand it. Like, it might get drawn out. Like, I was at first in a complete agreement that if Austin's not there, then they lose. But I don't think that they get buried. I don't think that they go away. I think that
They do
still-
not pull a WCW. They don't go out of business. And the reason I say that is because I think no matter what, eventually, Turner sells to Time Warner and AOL no matter what the fuck is happening. Because he's a businessman and it made sense and he got money. So
he was going to get a lot more money at that point too. Then
yes, exactly. So your business, and look, he was somewhat of a wrestling fan, but he not like what Vince McMahon is.
He
Exactly.
didn't grow up in the business and
yeah,
see how it was supposed to be ran.
He's not Vince. So I think eventually, no matter what, WCW gets sold. And WWE is still there. They might not have the amount of fans, but Vince McMahon isn't going away. You can win the war. You can call it winning the war all you want, but I don't know if it's a win. I don't know how that looks. What a WCW win looks like, or a WWE loss. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if it ever goes away, to be honest.
No, I don't think it does. And I think that, like you said, Triple H and DX, I think Taker and Rock for however long he stays there for, maybe Vince has the money to throw him more that way to keep him around more. I mean, because he's going to be pushing merch.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not on an Austin level, but he's basically going to be the guy.
You might have a Bret Hart stay. Vince might have the ability to go, you know what? We don't have another big guy. We don't have another big star. He can take that contract that he thought he couldn't pay, seeing the future of a Stone Cold coming. He might be able to hold on to that. You might have a Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, multiple matches at that point then. You might not have WrestleMania 13, but you might have WrestleMania 13 Austin Michaels. You might not, or WrestleMania 14 Austin Michaels. Like you might have that. That might reignite something completely different. You might not need a screw job. They might figure it out because before that match, they shook hands and it was all good. Like at that point, if there's no screw job and he's not leaving, they make up in Montreal anyway. And Bret goes over and they keep going. And then eventually, and then he drops the title to Michaels. They move on. You might have a happy Bret Hart staying with WWE and us getting the thing that we've always wondered about. What would have happened if we had 5 more years of this rivalry of Michaels and Hart? Not to mention Owen Hart still being there. Because we don't know that happens, that triggers Owen Hart to go with Jeff Jarrett and be the Blue Blazer and do all that bullshit. Like, we don't know. If Bret Hart stays, you have the Hart Foundation. Now, granted, Davey Boy Smith probably ends up passing away, but you still have half of them. You could have another Owen Hart, Bret Hart tag team championship in the late 90s. Like,
so the most interesting thing that I will say that I would want to see is a Bret Hart Triple H feud.
Yeah.
One thing that we were kind of robbed on, like that would have been, because Michaels would have had to have left because he's still hurt.
Right.
He's still jacked up. So you get Triple H taking over versus Bret.
Yeah, you still have DX, obviously. He still forms DX.
And so Bret has the opportunity to help mold Triple H.
You might have younger talent join the Hart Foundation. Now it might be Bret, Owen, and who knows who you're bringing into the Hart Foundation.
It would be Teddy.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So Austin never being in wrestling could save Teddy Hart from being a complete psychopath. Is that where we got to?
That's where you got to.
I think that makes perfect sense. You went so far that I had to take it just 6 steps further.
As usual.
Yeah.
So, all right, so we go to the dead man?
Yeah.
All right, so you've done it for 3. You got to at least do it for the last one. Okay. So, again, before we go into the 90s, you don't have one of the greatest debuts in Survivor Series history. You don't have look at that hawk from call from Roddy Piper. You don't like that alone. Him walking out, it's just that by itself is ridiculous. You don't have Paul Bearer being Paul Bearer. You still have him as Percy Pringle or whatever they would fucking call him in WWF. So you take away one of the greatest managers of all time, because who knows if he finds a better gimmick or another gimmick other than Paul Bearer without The Undertaker.
So without The Undertaker, does Hogan stick around a little longer?
No,
No,
because I don't think that really was the mindset behind. He was burned out. Yeah, I mean, he wanted to go film Thunder in Paradise. So I don't think that matters. I think Hogan's still going to WCW, so they ain't going to matter. But I mean, yeah, you're talking about 90s. You don't have that run of him in the 90s being that champ. You know what I mean? You don't have him and Diesel in 12. Not that was an amazing match, but
so if you eliminate Taker, you eliminate the backbone of the WWE for what, 30 years?
Mm-hmm. You eliminate the Boiler Room Brawl. You eliminate Hell in a Cell.
You pretty much eliminate Mankind from even remotely. He doesn't even make it to Triple H without Undertaker. Foley doesn't even get to that point.
No.
He's jobbing to everybody. He doesn't get to that point.
Well, I'm not going to say that, because Hunter, you still have Rock and Hunter, so I think Mankind's still able to work.
No, he doesn't get to that magnitude. No, Mankind doesn't have that person. Like I feel like he doesn't get popular enough to make it past. Like I feel like they stick him in the oddities. I don't think you don't get. There's a lot of people that you don't get.
True. You know what? And all right. So yeah, I'll agree, because the reason I say that is because you don't have the Boiler Room Brawl, which means you don't have him turn on Taker, and you don't have him acquire Paul Bearer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Paul Bearer was a big help to that.
Who is this other demented person that he's going to go after? Who is this other person that he's going to fit in with on that roster when he first comes about?
Yeah, nobody.
That's going to make it that interesting. So I don't think he gets to that point of where he gets this popularity or whatever. I don't think he gets the same view. He's not going to have the same views.
Yeah.
People aren't going to want to watch him with anybody else. So I don't think he gets to that popularity. You don't get Kane.
Yeah, I was going to say that next. That's a big loss as well, because they literally signed Kane to do what he's doing. Like, they signed him to be Undertaker's brother. So he never signed. I don't think he signed by WWE. He might end up in WCW. You might have Glenn Jacobs show up on WCW.
Yeah, because
because the only thing he did do is obviously Isaac Yankem, but you have Fake Diesel. That's what he did do. That without Taker, that was his last thing. So he will always be known, you know what I mean, as Fake Diesel. To be honest,
he might have retired from WWF as Fake Diesel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and they might have acquired him in WCW to play that same character. The job to Kevin Nash. He'd be the biggest jobber in history.
Yeah, and quite literally as well.
That's the way I meant it. Like, he might be the largest jobber.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have the Ministry of Darkness. One of my favorite storylines, story arcs ever. I still put that up there in tops for me, with abducting Stephanie and trying to sacrifice her, and the higher power storyline weaved in, and all of that. Like, that was when that was happening, man. That was one of those things that we've talked about, the Attitude Era on Monday nights being destination television you couldn't miss. When that would go off the air and you had Taker doing something at the very end, and all of a sudden something's about to happen, and lower third comes up and goes black, and you're like, oh man, what's good? I can't wait for next week now. Like Taker was involved in a ton of that. So I think that alone in that era is huge. Not even to mention what we still have to even go further with, but that, and then
so
go ahead.
Much like Triple H, Taker takes that road of who don't we have now? Like,
well, like you said, we already said Mankind and Kane.
I don't think you have nearly as good as a Kurt Angle.
That's debatable.
Without Taker.
That's debatable.
All right. You don't have a Brock Lesnar that's as big as he is without a Taker.
Batista is not as big without Taker.
Yeah. You don't get your favorite WrestleMania match of all time.
Yeah.
Without Taker. And I don't know if Michaels can have that match with anybody else. I don't know if they have anybody because Taker's it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't because without Taker, I don't think that they have a meaningful streak. I think they might still. I don't know if they ever get a streak, but I don't think it's as good as Taker's streak. I mean, that was an accident.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't even on purpose. That was an accident. They just figured out, oh man, this guy's 13-0 or 12-0 at WrestleMania. We got to keep this fucking going. I mean, given there was a couple bad ones in there, but I mean, for the leg end of the streak matches.
Speaking of the streak, so again, multiple times I'll probably say this. I had a lot of time. So I was watching Stone Cold's podcast with Taker on it. the second one. And after the Last Ride documentary came out. So he tells a story, and I don't know if I missed this or I didn't watch this one fully through, so I didn't hear this story before. And maybe I'm sure other people have. But it kind of made me chuckle.
It's on the show that I'm sure someone has.
Yeah, but I don't know how I missed it. But he talks about the night that 14, where Austin obviously beats Michaels. And the whole rumor of Taker sitting gorilla taping up his wrists. And to intimidate Michaels because Michaels was in such a bad place in his head. So Austin flat out was like, okay, what's the deal? He's like, this has been a rumor. I want to know, were you doing this on purpose? And he said, yes. He said, I purposely sat in gorilla, and when Sean walked past me, I was taping up my wrists and taping up my knuckles to walk by. He said, because I knew how much this match meant to the future of where we were going with the business and how important this had to go to give that title over. He said, so in my mind, I already had a plan. He said, if Michaels did something screwy out there and decided to go off script or not drop the title, you would have seen an appearance from The Undertaker. And I was prepared to lump Shawn Michaels up and throw him back in the ring and have Steve pin him. He said, because there was no way that belt wasn't coming off Michaels and not going to Steve. And Austin was like, he's like, wait a second. He's like, you were really going to do that? He's like, yeah. He was like, this business needed to be done. He said, how they did with Brett. He said, at the time I didn't get it. He said, but that's why I got it for you. He said, because I saw it from Vince's eyes after Vince explained it to me. He said that at that point, I knew what it meant. He's like, so business was going to get done one way or another. He's like, and if I had to lump up Shawn Michaels, I'm going to lump up Shawn Michaels to make sure you got the title. I was like, holy shit, man. I was like, now I kind of wish Michaels would have did something just to see Taker come out and really, yeah. I mean, tell me that wasn't the fucking way. We would have known. You don't know that's not part of it.
No.
Especially with Michaels and Taker's background and story. They fought Bad Blood and all that, so they have a story already there. So you don't know that wouldn't have been a part of it. So I think that would have been cool, but.
I mean, can't go back in time. We can only live in the now.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't think, I mean, I don't think that the Ruthless Aggression era is nearly as good.
No American Badass?
Taker carried that. He was one of the people that carried that goddamn era.
He single-handedly, not single-handedly, but within a few phrases, made John Cena. And it wasn't even in a match. It was after he slapped Kurt and lost to Kurt, and he walks back, and all he does is say, "What's your name?" and "Good job, kid," and then walks past him. That's it. And shakes John Cena's hand. You got the nod on national TV from The Undertaker. Made man. Done. Like, just that little bit. Like, that's how much Undertaker means. So they had to make sure they showed that. So in the eyes of the audience, holy shit, Undertaker respects him. All right, this guy must really be going.
Yeah, so, I mean, Taker's one of those guys that, again, because of how long he's been there and how much he's done for the WWF, WWE, I don't know if they, again, like, I don't know if they withstand some of the competition. He's one of those guys that, like, if you don't have a Taker in certain periods of time, I don't know if the product withstands it. I don't know how bad the product actually gets without Taker.
I mean, I think the biggest impact is on the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars without Taker. Ruthless Aggression, I feel like, still could have survived because you still had guys that could probably get a little bit more shine without Taker being there. I think definitely the PG era, because he was so in and out, it really wouldn't matter at that point.
Yeah, but there's no one to give that rub. There's none. You don't have that special attraction anymore.
And not only that, just for the people in the back, like that locker room leader, telling people and showing people how to do the right thing and making sure people do, and teaching people things that we won't see or don't know about. No. You know what I mean? Is another thing.
And you have, I mean, again, the WrestleManias. Mm-hmm. Are the WrestleManias as meaningful without
not the later ones, for damn sure. Like the ones in the middle, maybe I don't know if that matters, because I think, like he said, they started legit counting when he got to 10, like 10 in a row, and that's when he recognized it. But I mean, yeah, in between, probably not, but when they started counting, when it was 12 and 13, and that's where really, really, and then you have meaningful matches. You have the CM Punk, you know what I mean? That match was huge. Yeah.
Shawn Michaels.
But look, Roman, Brock, like, it's just, I mean, obviously, there's nothing like it.
Does anyone have, does Brock, I mean, Brock is a beast. He's always going to be a beast. But does he come back, and does he become the special attraction that he is without breaking the streak?
Probably. I mean, he doesn't have as much clout. I'll give you that. Like, that's why Vince chose for him to break it, because that just adds to it. The 1-21-1, like, that adds to that mystique of the beast incarnate. That's what it is. So, I mean, he's still probably going to be Brock Lesnar, but yeah, that is a huge mark on his.
It puts there's an asterisk. Like, Is he really the best without beating Taker? Is he as bad as is he like? I mean, and that's not the only match that they've had.
Oh no. Yeah, the only semi-positive thing is you don't get those horrible matches. The horrible match turnout with Roman. And the horrible one that was in Saudi with fucking Kane, Taker, and DX. That was god awful to watch.
Vince still finds a way to pull 4 old people out.
That's true.
To shill around anyway. So
that's true. Yeah.
It might not have been Taker, but there would have been someone to face DX.
Yeah. Yeah.
They would have paid some tag team. Who knows? You might have got like fucking. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Could have got. I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know. Did he try and bring Edge and Christian out of the fucking? Or he would have had the Hardys probably. He would have somehow had the Hardys. They would have made that work.
And look, even the cinematic match against Styles, people would say what they want about that match and that being his last match and all that.
I thought a lot of people liked that.
But there are people that have a problem that that's the last match. You know what I mean?
Was that the last match though? I'm pretty sure we saw him wrestle after that.
Well, yeah, maybe the DX was the DX match after that.
Yeah, because they brought, and then he officially retired like what 2 years ago.
Yeah, no, well maybe it's. I mean then this last singles match.
You want to talk about pops? You don't get the gong.
Yeah, that's pretty upsetting too.
Like, there's only certain things that will trigger that, like, holy shit reaction. There's only a few things that could trigger that. The gong is definitely one of them.
Yeah, man, I'll never.
I'll tell you what, speed time for entrances would be like it would be pretty high.
Yeah,
he brought that average down a lot. From ramp to ring. Or from
absolutely.
The ring, I'd say his average time is probably right around like 2 or 3 minutes. I mean, Warrior helped because his time was probably about maybe 4 seconds.
I was gonna say, depending on the ramp size,
the size
the
of the
entrance
ramp.
size, yeah.
So I mean, you got Taker and they're both like
got to get an average in between.
Yeah, the average in between. I mean, Flair's not helping the cause.
No.
Especially older. As Flair got older, he took even longer to get to the goddamn ring.
Mm-hmm.
He probably forgot where the fucking ring was. He probably forgot what he was doing.
I'll tell you what, that gong, I still remember as a 9-year-old kid, terrifying. Being in the Spectrum, and it was a house show in the Spectrum, and there was a 8-man tag, and I can't remember. I know there was like the big guys. It was like, it was Austin, Sid, Michaels, obviously Taker. And I can't remember a couple of the others.
That was before Austin blew up.
Yes. Yeah. He might have even still been the ringmaster or like right before Austin 316. Like it was real close. And man, I was 9 rows from the ring. It was a birthday present. And my grandfather took me. And like every time someone would come out, I'd run up to the guardrail and you'd stick your hand out. And all I remember is like it's obviously main event, and that gong going off, the lights shutting off, the purple smoke. Dude, I remember almost feeling sick. I was so scared of the Undertaker at 9 years old. I was so scared. I still get chills describing it because I remember how I felt, and it felt like the arena was shaking. That when he came out, like it was no joke. It was the Undertaker to kids were terrifying. And I mean, he was just the look of him.
He was the darkest character.
It was great.
Stretch of time.
It was amazing, and I'm so glad I still have that in my head. Like, and being able to see him as an adult was even better. But like,
I mean, the Undertaker is like one of those because you had all those gimmick wrestlers. Like you had a cop, you had an Indian, you had
Trash Man.
The trash man, you had a dentist,
the pig farmers.
Yeah, you had all sorts of profession gimmicks. The Undertaker had the most longevity behind.
Yeah,
they really struck gold with that one because you really don't like who thinks like an Undertaker, fucking like let's put that job title, let's pull that, we'll make that a wrestler.
And you got the right guy to do it. You can put that on countless number of people all you want. No one's doing it like
you're
the
not
Undertaker.
creating another one like that.
Mm-mm. No, not at all. Well,
Right.
I mean, I think we did a pretty good job of eliminating and the fallout of those eliminations.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because you don't know what exactly is going to happen if you lose someone. You just kind of speculate.
Yeah,
but there are certain things that probably won't happen
mm-hmm.
with certain people gone.
Yeah, I think obviously with those 4, like
they
we
might
said,
have tried, but I don't think it would have been nearly as successful.
Yeah, but the attitude, the war for Monday night is completely different. You know what I mean? It's with those four taking, like we said, any one of them out, it affects that in varying stages depending on which one we're talking about. But like it that's a big difference on the Monday Night War alone.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the landscape of wrestling itself looks a lot different with minus one of those four.
Yeah. Well, I like that concept, Joe. Good job. That was pretty well thought out.
Yeah, I actually. So I left work and I was just driving home. So this one only took me about a half hour to come up with, not even. Because I hadn't thought about it, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna think about it. And I was like, I don't know how, but it came to me.
It's not bad at all.
See what we got for tomorrow night in the old noggin.
Yeah, we'll find out.
I might be a one and done.
Well, we hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching and listening, and we'll be talking to you very soon.
See what happens when you got a day off and you can just clear your mind.